Hey YouTube, and in today's video, I thought I'd just go over some of the things that I've noticed since I've been settling into Chiang Mai. Um, Definitely try to get this one solid as far as internet connection goes. I'm using my phone as a hotspot instead of trying to use the building Wi-Fi. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm just going to share some of the things that I've noticed that, in no particular order, have been the biggest surprises so far in Thailand. And in some cases, they're not even really surprises, like in the sense that I knew about them going in, but they are at least surprises in the sense that some of these factors I underestimated prior to coming here, and now that I'm actually staying here long term, that I'm noticing some of these things. This is the longest amount of time I've ever spent in Thailand in one go. So this is actually I think my fourth visit or something like that. I've been here since late June, so we're coming up on like 2.5 months now, and it's really just been a wonderful time overall. There's been a lot of learning experiences, some challenges, some times where because I was trying to see different places, it could be a little bit more difficult, right? Like for me, Chiang Mai is easy mode because I've spent about a month here in the past in the same building I'm living in now. So I'm familiar with the basic layout, how to get to the mall, how to change money, all these things like how to, find new clothing or how to get data, all these things I had done about 5 years prior in the same city. So when I went to Bangkok, especially Bangkok at full capacity, right, and also Pattaya, there was a lot of new things. So let's go ahead and get into the first surprise here. Good to see you, by the way. Feel free to introduce yourself. I see we have a viewer. So I would say, the first thing that's been really surprising is, people do seem happier on average than back home. I'm not going to say that's across the board and that there's no challenges here, but certainly, the trade-off we have for the efficiency of life in the West is definitely like, having to work demanding jobs or having to really be present for extended hours for like a business role or something like that. And the trade-off of, one of the trade-offs of perhaps not having quite the same standard of living is that people do seem a little bit more carefree here. I notice people smiling and laughing a bit more. I don't think that's the case for everybody, right? Like every American is unique. People's satisfaction like is different from person to person. But I think there's definitely like everybody that's a working person can admit that at times, the demands of their job, whatever that job may be, can really be frustrating. Of course, there is a trade-off, right? Like, if you live below your means in the West, you can really get ahead very easily, and so that's something that I think a lot of people appreciate and admire. But I think it's interesting to think about the trade-offs. The next thing is that things are not always as efficient as the U.S. I mentioned this just a few minutes ago, but there are times where I'm like, wow, I wish, not I wish it was America or I wish I was in America, but rather, man, I miss that efficiency in America. An example of this would be getting things mailed. Like sometimes it's tricky and I think some of this is the language barrier, of course, sometimes tricky for me to communicate my address effectively or properly. Sometimes I purchase the wrong item if I'm shopping on like Shopee or Lazada because I misread the item description. And then also just like making sure that I'm here. Sometimes some items they want you to sign for it, and if I'm out doing something, that can be a little bit tricky to coordinate. So there are certain things that in the U.S., you know, the lack of the language barrier and the striving for efficiency factors, uh, there are some benefits there. I would say, like alongside that, one thing that it's an efficient experience. It's not necessarily the best overall, but like going to Walmart, for example. Here, if I need to go shopping, typically I'm hitting up a few different stores. I may reduce some of that by going to a shopping mall, but it's hard to find that one-stop shop kind of a place, if not impossible, to find that kind of one-stop shop place like you have at like a Walmart in America. I imagine countries like Canada and Australia probably have something similar. And that big box store where you can just get everything handled in one place, it's just so convenient. And here, that is a challenge, right? Like sometimes I have to budget extra time because I'm going to have to go to multiple places that might not be in the same building. Of course, there's trade-offs, right? Like everything else. I certainly love Thailand. I'm so happy to be here, but um, living here is definitely different than taking a vacation here. I'm already noticing that it's quite a bit different to actually be staying here long term. And I think that there's credence to some people saying like some people really should just visit Thailand but shouldn't live there because it's it's very very much oriented toward tourism and visiting. And I think for living here, it's you're going to have certain challenges that a Thai person wouldn't have, right? Like a Thai person, typically they're going to have some family here. They probably have a solid friend circle they built up over the course of many years. They have a 9 to 5 career, most likely, that has them kind of structured around a certain schedule. There's, of course, many advantages to being a Thai person in Thailand. And I think that if you're not, that's going to be part of the learning curve for sure. I think that, some things like culturally, like one thing that could be a bit challenging is in the US, we're used to things instantaneously, right? We're used to convenience culture. Anytime we want something, we can get it really quick. Well, here, you might find certain things are a bit slower or people walk a bit slower. That's been a big one for me where I'm used to San Francisco where everybody is in a hurry at all hours, like uh, at all working hours anyway. And then I feel like people are really tired and go and crash out in the evenings. But yeah, that's something that you have to think about is like if you're coming from New York City to Chiang Mai, really like I think if you're not going from a big city to Bangkok in Thailand, if you're going from like a big city like New York, London, LA, etc., to like a Chiang Mai or a Pattaya or even like, um, you know, I think a Chiang Rai, which is even smaller than Chiang Mai, you're going to have to understand that the pace of life is slower. And I'm really not necessarily in that mode, of retirement at my age. So it is still a bit I have to be mindful of that, right? I have to be mindful that even though I've got a limited amount of time to be here, I need to get certain things done while I'm here, that everybody else is living their normal day to day lives and they're not necessarily in a rush to eat so they can go back and work on something, or they're not having to do like a visa run, right? Where every 3 months I have to go to immigration services and make sure I'm handling all of the responsibilities in line with that. Not a problem with that. It's just something that does take some time, and um, I have to be mindful to complete that in an efficient manner. And sometimes you do feel like in a rush, right? Like I better get there on time. I better have everything in order for them. I want to make sure I follow all the rules, and that's something that can definitely add to it. And I think also just like you do feel, I think until you've been here for a long time, you do feel a bit tumultuous, right? Like I imagine I could be here for about a year, but I've got to start planning that exit, right? Like I can't just say, oh, well, whatever happens, like I'm just going to extend it without having prepared, I think, financially and also just like tying up loose ends back in the US. So that's where I'm at. I underestimated planning the rest of the trip. So if you're a long-term traveler, and you're thinking I'm going to go to Thailand for like a month and then Vietnam for a month, etc., planning all that extra out ahead of time does reduce that sense of ambiguity where now I'm like, okay, so next summer when my visa's up, then I'll start to be heading toward Vietnam or another country, right? Like Vietnam is high on my list. I still haven't been to Vietnam, but it's really, really close to Thailand. The flight is around 2,500 baht. So that's like $70 roughly. Let me check it out. Actually, 2,500 Thai baht USD. Yeah, $70.15. So that's a really reasonable price. Vietnam, from what I've heard, has an even lower cost of living than Thailand, which of course makes it intriguing. As I don't have a role right now, and I've got to be mindful of costs and budget. Hey, we got a viewer. Good to see you. Thought I'd just do a live stream and share a bit about Chiang Mai and some of the surprises of Chiang Mai. But yeah, that's been a surprise. Is like I think I expected to feel more settled. Like when I'm moving to the U.S., I feel settled pretty quickly because everybody speaks English. I've been to most of the cities in the U.S. I know my way basically around town. I know some of the general dynamics of being in that specific city. Where here, there's just this huge learning curve of a language barrier and also understanding things like traffic and understanding things like how to handle the rain. Like the rain is definitely more than what I've been accustomed to living in California. And so that's been a lot to learn, right? These are not criticisms, by the way, just observations. I'm grateful that Thailand has opportunities for people to come and live here for a while. It's certainly really a nice break from the grind and from the hustle and bustle and all of that. I do wish I had more time here. I know that sounds a little bit strange thinking about it like a year, but it's just such a pleasant place in so many ways. People are really pleasant, really friendly. It's easy to um, sort of, even in spite of the language barrier, kind of do hand motions where you can somewhat communicate with people that way, right? Like typically they have pictures or they have perhaps English version of something like a menu. And you can also use a translate app. I found the translate app to be super helpful. And something else that you might find helpful if you do come here to Thailand, or really this tip applies to anywhere, but you'll want to get Google Translate, and it can actually translate like through the camera. So if you hold the camera up, it will attempt to show you a rough translation of whatever it is that you're looking at in whatever language. Of course, you'll want to know what language you're recording and what language you're trying to get. But that's certainly something that could be a tip or can be helpful for you if you are traveling and dealing with a strong language barrier. I think it's a little bit less bad if the language is closer to your home language. But in the case of Thai, English and Thai don't really have much in common as far as a background goes. So that's something that speaking of, that should be the next surprise. Is I found Thai to be a little bit more challenging than I would have thought to learn. I'm taking some Thai classes as part of my long-term visa here, and it's really challenging in some ways. I mean, today I've been learning about colors, and I've been learning about like pen and paper and things like that, basic words. And with the tones, it can really be challenging. Where English, I think we assume tone when we speak it, and you can gather things from that. But with Thai, like the tone communicates the meaning, and so you're really having to think about that. And saying something with a different tone can really switch things up. And the language is also uh, what's the word? Like I said, it's just very very different from English, and you have to be cautious about that. I think when you're trying to say things, and I think with a good teacher, they'll help you to like improve your pronunciation and make sure that you're communicating effectively. I think getting something even rough out is a good start on trying to understand a language. I think there is kind of that debate where some people are like, "Oh, you could only use Thai in Thailand," but somebody else made the point, and this is why I'm glad I'm studying Thai. Is most people like Thailand a lot. Like there's something that is in Thailand that they like, even if they don't do every single thing that's here. They like the culture, right? For me, that's a big one. I love the culture. I love studying the culture, understanding it. But two, they like the weather, right? Some people really like hot, warm weather. Some people they like the Muay Thai scene, right? If you want to study Muay Thai, it is of course a Thai martial art, and if you want to be totally wrapped up in that scene, which a lot of people that are into that lifestyle, really professional athletes, they want to be surrounded by that. This is a place that you can come here and have that. And so there's all these different reasons to come here to Thailand and to spend a long time here. And I can imagine, even if I don't live here again, I'm undecided. I feel like at a couple months, I know I want to stay more than a year, but the timelines are different, right? Like a year is not the same as committing to here for like 5 years or 10 years or like being a lifer, right? But you have so many different things to come here for. So like I feel like, well, I'm probably going to come back here again in the future. Let's say a couple of years from now, 3 or 4 years from now. At some point, eventually, I plan to hit financial independence, especially when I'm financially independent, having investments cover my expenses. This is a great option. I mean, I'm able to live here at a very reasonable price and enjoy a lot of the things that I enjoy back in the US. I would say the main drawback is not having friends here, and that really sucks. But aside from that one really big thing, there's a lot that I like about being here. It's just a chill place. The coffee is really good. It's Once you get set up, it is easy to get things done. It does take some time and effort to get set up, getting an apartment, getting phone service, buying, whatever little things you need for your apartment that may not come with, making sure that you've got a rough plan of what you're going to be doing for your time. But once you get set up, it's an easy place to be productive. It's a college town, so for those of you who have been to or lived in a college town, you're somewhat familiar with the dynamic. There's a lot of young people here to pursue their education, but it's also a historical capital. It used to be the capital of Thailand, and so it has a lot of history and tradition. It's really a unique place, and I totally love it. I think some people, if they're coming here and expecting like a Bangkok or a Pattaya or a Phuket, like a party scene, they're not going to find that to the same extent. It's pretty small here compared to those cities. If you're looking to come for like, I don't know, I would say like a week or something like that to Thailand, or 2 weeks, you may want to do a day trip up here. I think it's a better city for living as opposed to a city for visiting. And I think that's where I struggled some in Bangkok and in Pattaya. Is I felt like these are more of like vacation cities, and more so, I feel that way more so about Pattaya than Bangkok, but like, you don't have to stay here, right? Like if you're coming here for a good time, these are the best places to have a good time. But if you're coming here to stay for a while and work on stuff, I think Chiang Mai is a great option. They have different strengths and weaknesses, but that's definitely one that you'll want to note about Chiang Mai. Another one, and we talked about cost. I think cost is always on the mind of people coming to Thailand, just because it is a very economical travel destination when you compare it to going to say like Florida, or you're talking about going to like Hawaii or um, the Caribbean, or the California coast, any of these places that Americans might think of. Those are all much more expensive. Now you have to set aside the cost of the flight, but if you're coming here for a while, you stretch that cost of the flight out over many months. It's not quite so intimidating, right? But when you come here, like, you'll notice Thailand has some of the lowest inflation rates in the entire world. I've noticed some things have gone up in price a bit, particularly imported goods. Everything imported has gone up, but anything locally produced is like really not that much more, um, than it used to be. And I think that while it is getting more expensive, it's not at the level of a country like the United States or Canada or Australia. It's really very reasonable. When I think about what I would pay for basic necessities, like, what's a good example? Well, rent, right? I rented a really tiny apartment in the Bay Area for like 1,100 a month US, and it had like shared showers and shared bathrooms, and it was above a pretty noisy establishment, where here my rent is $260 a month, so roughly a fourth of that. And I have really nice floors. I have a nice chair here, a nice bed. It's got, kitchen table. It's got a desk. It's got a balcony, and I'm in a really convenient area. I can walk to everything I need to do, which, to be fair, is the same as my Bay Area apartment. I was in a really convenient location there as well, but I'm paying roughly a fourth there of what I was paying, and for a much more space and a much more nicer, newer building, and just a much quieter area. It's easy for me to get sleep here. That's one of my favorite parts, is I just feel well rested living here compared to being in the Bay Area. And some of that, to be fair, Chiang Mai is like 1 million people versus San Francisco being like 8 million people in the metro area. Another point, and this is going to be kind of an obvious one for a lot of you, I think, but I underestimated how hot it would be. And that sounds strange, right? But in the past, I've come to Thailand for a month or two. You can kind of, this sounds weird in reverse, because some people say they get used to it. I found I still haven't totally gotten used to the heat. And it's been kind of surprising to me where, because you spend more time outdoors here, I find myself getting hotter a lot more frequently. And it's interesting to me because it's like a year-round thing. I think especially from like March until October, it's hot. And you have to get used to that. Like if you're going to leave your condo or apartment and you're used to running the air conditioning a lot, you're used to running fans a lot, you're going to notice the heat for sure. It's definitely a big change from what I'm used to, where San Francisco is like cool or cold year round. It's the coldest place in the summer in the United States. And well, really North America. It's the coldest place in North America for like June through July. Even like parts of May and August can be pretty chilly in San Francisco. And that's different than here where it is hot. I mean, it is really, really hot. And I run the air conditioner a lot. I've already gotten slapped with some really big electric bills. But one of the tips I have for you is to find a apartment if you're going to stay here for a while with a government rate electricity. I was paying much higher than that in Pattaya and paid like 2.5 times what I would be paying up here in Chiang Mai for the same amount of consumption at my building, right? There's certainly some buildings in Chiang Mai that charge a primo rate for electricity. That's part of how they get additional profit. But I found one that's charging government rates, and that's what you should be paying if you're staying here long term. I get it, like, if in a short term accommodation, they need to build that cost into the rental. But if you're staying here for a while, you shouldn't be getting like nickel and dimed on the electricity. That's just, it's a necessity, right? Like for those of us who work online, for those of us who have friends and family back home that need to, you need to be online for whatever reason, like, electricity and internet are interconnected. And I think that, yeah, I think, paying the more normal rate, the government rate is what you should be looking to do. I wouldn't call it a total deal breaker if they're charging more, but if you're staying here long term, you got to really, consider that as part of your budget. So, how's everybody doing? I would say another surprise has been how busy things seem again. I think that when I was here the last time, it was during the pandemic, and Bangkok was empty. Even like the city center of Bangkok had very, very few people toward the end of that stay, especially in March of 2020. I remember walking all over the city and not seeing very many people at all. And I was so confused because I thought, oh, this is how Bangkok always is, right? And then I came back. Of course, I was there my first month here in Thailand, and I was shocked at how busy it is. And I was talking to my friends that live in Bangkok, and they said, "Oh yeah, this is how Bangkok normally is. You just saw a really special version to some extent, in that you could explore the city, and it was really not crowded. There was very few people during the pandemic, and so yeah, just really." Really a surprise to see. It is a city of like 18 million people in the metropolitan area, and more people move to Bangkok from the rest of the country every year for work because most of the best work opportunities are in the capital, and that definitely can give you that feeling of congestion. I found it to be a bit too busy for my preferences. I found that it's very crowded. It can be very noisy because there's a lot of construction and investment there that's taking place. Where here in Chiang Mai, it's a lot more chill. I don't hear nearly as much noise. Even being under the flight path of the airplanes, there's not nearly as many planes flying right now as there were 5 years ago. And even then, even when I hear them, they're really not that bad. And so that's really a difference that you'll experience if you come here to Chiang Mai versus Bangkok, which is definitely a major city. It has all the vibrancy, the nightlife, the uh, different neighborhoods, the different scenes, the markets, the all the different transportation options. That's something that's fascinating to me in Bangkok. Is like you have boats and buses, you have air conditioned buses, non-air conditioned buses, you have shuttles, you have different size shuttles. I've taken probably like 8 or 10 different. You have tuk-tuks, 8 or 10 motorbikes, cars, probably 10 different kinds of transportation in Bangkok, and it just never ceases to shock me. Where, okay, so how am I going to get there? So I'm going to get on a boat, and I'm going to ride the boat to the end of the line, this pier, and then I'm going to get off this pier, and I'm going to walk to the BTS station. I'm going to take a BTS up to this other BTS station. Then I'm going to get on a bus, ride up here to this road, get off the bus, get on another shuttle, and ride close to my hotel, and then get out of my hotel and walk. And it's just really, really wild to have that experience. I mean, to go to Pattaya, I would take let's say to go to Bangkok from Pattaya, I would take a bot bus, a 10 bot bus, and I'd ride it to across Pattaya. Then I'd walk about a kilometer, maybe a kilometer and a half, maybe 2 kilometers to the bus station. I'd get on the bus, take the bus about 2.5 hours to Suvarnabhumi Airport. Then I'd get off, I get off the bus at the airport. I'd walk downstairs to the basement, get on the MRT train. I'd take the MRT all the way to Phaya, and then I'd get on a bus at Phaya all the way up north, and then I get off that bus, and then so like five different modes of transportation to go from Pattaya to where I needed to be to renew my visa. Really always a surprise to have that kind of experience. And even here in Chiang Mai, you've got motorbikes, you've got tuk-tuks, people ride regular bicycles, you've got taxis. Of course, I took a taxi to get to my condo from the airport. What else? You can walk. It depends on where you are. You can walk in Niman, but other parts of the city are just not as pedestrian friendly. That is perhaps a challenge or a drawback, is if you're a big walker, you'll have to really be choosy about where you live, and you'll probably want to be around like Chiang Mai University, or you'll want to be around Niman, or parts of the old city to really be able to walk around and enjoy the city. And yeah, I think that's definitely worth your consideration when it comes to picking a place to live. Another surprise. Hmm. I'm surprised at how much Maya Mall has changed. Maya Mall is here in Chiang Mai, and it's particularly the basement, right? I don't know if any of you have been here to Chiang Mai, but it used to be that the basement had this like more old school style Thai like uh, food court, and you had different vendors serving up their unique thing. And now it's gone to like a card system, and they've also gone to more what I would call default options. And so it's not quite as interesting as it used to be. If that's something you noticed, let me know. But I think they swapped to that earlier this year, and that was disappointing because the old style was just super awesome. And then same with the fourth floor. The fourth floor had used to have a similar style, and they swapped it to a key card system. So I guess I guess it just makes more sense from a business perspective, but it is unfortunate that they did that. They also took a lot of the seats out, so that's something I miss about the old way that Mayamall used to be in the past. But you can't have it stay the same forever, I guess. So yeah, definitely something that you'll want to think about, and that's more in the style of Bangkok anyway. Like all the Bangkok malls, many of the food courts, almost all of them, do have that key card system where you preload a card and you use that card to swipe it to pay for your food. Any other surprises? I'm surprised, I can order from Amazon. That's always a surprise for me when I'm abroad. There's certain things that I want to be able to purchase here, but I can't exactly find very easily here. And being able to get those on Amazon is just super convenient, right? You do pay a little bit value added tax, and in some cases, you can pay extra for shipping and that sort of thing. But it's nice to have that. I would also recommend, if you are here and you need to get something, to look at Shopee or Lazada. Both of those are local options, and they're really effective as far as finding certain things. But if you can't find it on Shopee or Lazada, I'd recommend checking out Amazon. Um, Potentially check out Alibaba. I've never ordered from Alibaba to here in Thailand, but that's definitely something to consider. I would say look at more of the small to medium items. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to replace like a laptop or a iPhone or something like that. But if you're looking to like buy a T-shirt, or you're looking to buy some deodorant, or that kind of thing, then it's worth considering. Uh, and always compare the price as well, because some things, like I mentioned, deodorant. My favorite deodorant's like $20 for a stick, $20 equivalent, about 700 baht for a stick on Lazada. So I'm going to be taking a look at Amazon to see, are they offering it for less, because I don't want to pay $20 for that. And I like the brand that I like, and so yeah, it's certain products like you would think, oh man, they've got to have that. They may not have, and then other products you'll be surprised that you can have that. Like everywhere I go, I can get Gatorade, I can get Coca Cola products, um, I can get you know. What else can I get here? Really, Nike, Nike products. Nike's popular here. Adidas is popular here. They do have Apple stores here. Main reason I say, have caution about purchasing is I know, I don't know how like things like warranties work and all that. I don't know if you buy it here and then you go back home, your warranty may not apply. But the small things, yeah, go for it. But yeah, definitely throw some comments in the chat if if there's a question you had or thoughts you had on Thailand. Always happy to answer and help. I think another thing I'm surprised about is the gyms. Like the gyms are just pretty nice here. It's not perfect, but I think for the value that you get, it's just really really good to be able to go and work out there. The thing that I think is interesting at my gym is they actually will serve you protein shake. I think it's like 70 baht, about $2. You can also you know you can also have personal training services there. I like it a lot because of the variety of equipment they have, and it rarely seems to get crowded. I think that if I mix up my times, I'm finding more and more when it is and isn't crowded. And you can definitely go at certain off peak hours and have a little bit more space to yourself. But even during peak hours, people seem pretty respectful and they're willing to let you, use the equipment for however long you need, and then they'll swap in after you need a break or you're wanting to move on to your next exercise. I would say too, I like that they have a space to do yoga and stretch out because I find that as I get older, stretching really just like helps a lot with me having flexibility and feeling good. It's a nice way to cool off from a workout as well. Any other surprises? I've been surprised at the late night vibe. I think that that's something that's different than the U.S., especially in San Francisco. Toward the end of my time there, it began to become more and more a little like dangerous feeling, especially at night. Sometimes you see some unsavory characters running around the city, and I find a lot of people in the Bay Area anyway work a lot because it's expensive, so you have to produce a lot. And so at night there was not really tons going on. There's some bars that are open and some concerts, but a lot of that stuff seemed to wrap up by like midnight. Where here, there's even in Chiang Mai, there's options to go get food at like 1 o'clock in the morning. There's some people out walking around, people riding motorbikes. It's not quite as lively as what you'd have in like a busy part of Sukhumvit in Bangkok or in Pattaya, where there's plenty of 24-hour businesses. But even up here, there's still a decent amount going on. You can always go to 7-Eleven late at night. I think it's interesting that the 7-Elevens here are 24/7, where if you can't sleep, and I found I couldn't because of the heat, because I Googled it, I was like, why am I having insomnia? And they explained, well, a lot of people, if they're not used to the extreme heat in Thailand, they definitely struggle to sleep after a while, and that can keep them up till really, really late at night. So that's where I think exercise can help. A lot of them recommended exercise. As soon as I got back into my workout habit or workout routine, that definitely helped me to having more normal sleeping schedule. But even that being said, I am awake until like usually like 2 a.m. and I get up around 10 a.m. And that's not ideal, right? Like, especially when I go back to the West, of course, the weather will go back to more of what I'm used to, but I'll want to be going to bed by like 11:30, midnight ish, and getting up at 7:30, 8 a.m. To start my day. And that's just, that's something to think about if you are coming to stay here for a while is the heat, especially if you have a situation like where your aircon is broken or, um, for whatever reason, you're not able to sleep well, that some exercise could definitely help you feel a bit more rested and able to sleep. Any other? I would say it's been a little bit surprising, like kind of being reminded that a motorbike does make things more convenient here. Of course, I've talked a lot about the dangers of riding a motorbike, but I think that it's definitely it can be like a little bit not frustrating, but disappointing sometimes when you're like, I really want to go explore, but I'm just not willing to take the risk of getting hurt on a motorbike. A lot of foreigners run into issues with motorbikes. I don't want to run into these issues, so I choose to operate without one, but it definitely sometimes you feel that it comes to your detriment. But I always err on the side of caution, especially in a place that I'm just not as familiar with as back home. But yeah, I think I'm gonna wind this stream down. Definitely throw questions or thoughts or comments down below. I think I'm ready to go get some dinner. It's getting close to 5:30 p.m. here. Thanks so much for watching. I always appreciate everyone watching and giving thumbs up and all of that. And I look forward to seeing you soon. I'll be trying to throw a video together sometime in the next week. It's just been kind of hectic schedule wise, but thanks so much, and I'll talk to you all soon.